Hello and welcome to ScaleUp Radio Shorts. I'm Kevin Brent, and as always, I'm here with Granger Forson.
Hey everyone, great to be back. And yes, this is ScaleUp Radio Shorts, brought to you by Smart 90, the proven 90-day execution system for scaling businesses.
Exactly. Now, in this special format, we're doing something a little different. We're taking some of the best insights from our ScaleUp Radio interviews and comparing notes, sharing what we learned, and hopefully sparking some new ideas for you.
That's right, Kevin. Today we're diving into lessons from two fantastic ScaleUp Radio interviews. We're contrasting the wisdom of Hayley Peacock, founder of Atelier 21 Schools, with Alexis Sikorsky, international best-selling author and founder of Sikorsky Consulting.
We'll be looking at everything from educational philosophy and the importance of play to the key steps to avoiding startup pitfalls, plus, as always, the human side of the story.
So buckle up. It's going to be an action-packed short journey through the minds of these incredible guests.
Let's start with Hayley Peacock. She really challenged the conventional ideas about education, didn't she?
Absolutely. What struck me most was her core message, that education should be about making learning relevant, meaningful, and joyful. It's not just about cramming information into kids.
She's a big advocate for aligning education with the neuroscience of the developing brain, moving away from that old industrial revolution model of just moulding kids for work.
And it's fascinating how she got into this. She was a broadcast journalist, totally focused on her career, and then life threw her a curveball, twins born prematurely. That really shifted her perspective and led her to create something different.
Right. She saw a need for a new approach, and that's what led her to found Atelier 21 Schools and the Little Barn Owls nursery group. It's amazing how personal experience can spark such a big professional shift.
What's also interesting is how she built the culture at Atelier 21. It's a democratic culture, giving young learners a voice and choice in how the school is run, building those essential skills like agency, self-advocacy, and collaboration.
And she was very clear that it's vital that she has created a culture where people were encouraged to come up with solutions for things, and where you're expected to knock on the door and say, that's not working very well.
That level of openness and self-direction sounds like a powerful way to create a thriving learning environment. I love how she spoke about always making a point of punching the air with glee when she heard of staff being challenged by the students.
Yes, really celebrating free thinking and constructive challenge.
Yes, with staff all on the train, but I guess what was perhaps most interesting was hearing about the early days and her view that for the first 3 years, she just wasn't a good leader.
Well, that shows the journey that she went through to achieve what she has done.
Certainly does. Now, let's switch gears and talk about Alexis Sikorsky. His interview was packed with insights on avoiding startup pitfalls.
Absolutely. Alexis really emphasized some of the key challenges that scaling businesses face, like confusing urgent tasks with important ones.
That's a classic trap, isn't it? Getting bogged down in the day-to-day fires and losing sight of the bigger picture.
Exactly. And he was adamant about having a clear strategy, a plan that you're constantly checking in with, but also equally to be ready to pivot.
That's where his point about not falling in love with your plan comes in. You've got to be flexible and adapt to changing circumstances. As he said, if a man makes a plan, God laughs. Anything over 4 years is a dream, not a plan.
And I thought his take on financing was really interesting about good debt versus bad debt. That if you are going to get debt, make sure it is going into a very good asset. It comes back to this business plan.
And the war chest. He stressed the importance of having that financial cushion to weather any storms. It's not just about growth, it's about resilience, having enough to make a baby.
Yep, 9 months. He learned that the hard way during the global financial crisis when he lost 75% of his revenues in one day. Talk about a wake-up call.
It's incredible how he bounced back from that and built an even stronger business. It really shows the value of having that war chest and staying focused on what's truly important.
It's also how he found the people to help. One insight he had to share was that the biggest problem is not finding people to help, but that often entrepreneurs were just shy, didn't think people would help, didn't ask. He said, talk to people all the time.
What also impressed me about Alexis was his belief in making opportunities for his people to develop. I guess that's part of the process of finding more great ideas.
Good point, which helps to explain why one of his tips for success was to hire the right people. They're the only skill that he has. And he said, when you hire Lionel Messi, you don't tell him how to score goals. You let him get on with it.
Love it. You've got to trust your team and give them the autonomy to do what they do best.
So, Granger, both Hayley and Alexis offered some incredible advice, but they approached things from very different angles, didn't they?
Absolutely, Kevin. Hayley's focus was on creating a nurturing, people-centric environment, almost a family. Everything felt like it was about the team. Alexis, on the other hand, was more about structure, KPIs, and strategic financial planning.
That's a great way to put it. Hayley talked about building a ride or die team, a culture where people are encouraged to be creative and think for themselves. It's almost a cult, but in the best way becomes a family.
Alexis, with his financial background, stressed the importance of measurable results. I loved his no-nonsense approach to things like cutting costs, building a war chest, and making sure every decision is aligned with the long-term goal of a successful exit. That seemed to dominate every thought he had.
Definitely a contrast there, but I think both approaches are valuable, depending on the type of business and the stage of growth. One thing they did align on, though, was the importance of strong teams. Alexis said something that has stayed with me. If you hire Lionel Messi, you don't tell him how to score goals. Something Hayley would completely agree with.
Yeah, it is a key, hiring the right people. It all comes down to having a clear vision, whether it's about creating a joyful learning experience or maximizing shareholder value. As Alexis so eloquently put it, you have to ask.
I agree, and to plan, but not to overdo it. Planning is about being intentional in your decision-making, not having a 101-page PowerPoint presentation.
And being ready to pivot. And make sure your team is ready to pivot with you. That's so true.
Definitely. All those points around culture, planning, and key skills to look out are all incredibly insightful. Both guests offered us something truly unique. The contrasting views is very valuable for all businesses. Well, Granger, that brings us to the end of this episode of ScaleUp Radio Shorts. I hope our listeners found this comparison of Hayley and Alexis's insights as fascinating as we did.
Absolutely, Kevin. It's been a pleasure diving into their stories and extracting these valuable lessons. I particularly enjoyed the bit about the personal stories and lessons that have got them to where they are today.
As a reminder, if you want to hear the full interviews and delve even deeper into their experiences, be sure to check out ScaleUp Radio wherever you get your podcasts. You can search for ScaleUp Radio on all of the main podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts.
And if you're looking for a proven system to help scale your business, be sure to check out Smart 90, our very own 90-day execution system designed to help you achieve your goals faster.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode.